Hello, everybody.
Howdy.
Oh, we have a court case that went all the way to the state of New York Supreme Court. And it's good news, though, because they have shot down Watchtower's appeal. But as we know, they will probably take it now to the United States Supreme Court.
Yep.
You know, they like to...
Well, they've got God's money with them, so, I mean, come on. I mean, time is on their side, along with the money. That's why they can do this.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping that what the Supreme Court will do, United States Supreme Court, will kick it back to the state like what they did that case in California that Zolkin had. Remember? Watchtower took it all the way to the federal Supreme Court.
And yeah, exactly. And it's not that they're going to kick it back per se. It's just that they're going to say, or they could say, the judgment was correct in the first place. So even if they don't kick it back and they do agree with the New York State the New York State High Court, they got it right. But, you know, again, it's Watchtower playing the long game because they know that this crap, that this garbage that they're pursuing is going to take years and years and years to litigate. Because the justice system, whether you like it or not, does move at a turtle's pace.
Glacially slow.
Glacially slow, yeah. Wink, wink. Yeah. Wink, wink.
Yeah. Now, I want to thank John very much for sending me the information on this. And I did do a little digging. And I did find it's sent me the link to the New York State documents. It is case number 2024-01952. And you can get all the documents in this if you would like. And there's two different case numbers. And one is either John or Jane Doe, and then the other one is Daniel Owen. And the Doe case, a couple of the law websites have done a summary of this judgment, and it was decided November 6, 2024. And this is good news, though, because this is just one step closer to the governing body. They have separated the governing body from Watchtower, and now the governing body can be sued as a separate entity.
Right.
So this is good news for all cases, whether they're civil or criminal.
Which just about makes that hot poking iron about ready to be inserted where some of the governing body members don't want a hot fire poker inserted.
Where they sit?
I'm trying to be nice.
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking, because again, this governing body and all previous governing bodies combined have proved themselves to be very inefficient. If you don't believe me, Jehovah's Witnesses, ask yourselves why that generation is dead and gone and we're not in the new system yet playing with panda bears.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm going to put the links down below. Several of these law websites have done a summary on this. Decision in order. In an action to recover damages for personal injuries, the defendant governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses appeals from an order of the Supreme Court, Kings County, dated November 16, 2023. So they've been fighting this for a year now. The order denied that defendant's motion pursuant to CPLR 322A to dismiss the complaint insofar as asserted against it.
See, one of the reasons why Watchtower has to play this game right now is because in the minds of Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization is the governing body. The governing body is the organization. And that's why these things have to be separated. But do you think a Jehovah's Witness, no, better yet, do you think this decision's ever going to appear on jw.org that they're getting their asses handed to them in the New York State Supreme Court?
I'm no prophetess, but I can say with certainty, 100%, that the only way you will see this on jw.org is if they win in the Supreme Court.
Right. That's the only way you're ever going to see this.
Yeah.
But you got to understand the mental gymnastics that Watchtower's been trying to play all these years is making the governing body the organization and vice versa.
Yeah.
So now they have separated it according to the New York State court system.
Yeah. It's ordered that the order is affirmed with cost. The plaintiff commenced blah, 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 that the governing body and Watchtower is responsible for their abuse.
Right.
Because we all know that elders, circuit overseers, ministerial servants, they all get appointed now from Watchtower.
Well, there
It's
again,
approved.
correct me if I'm wrong, but a few years ago, didn't they hand that authority over to circuit overseers at the as an attempt to separate the governing body from the CSA problem that they suffer from? So they were trying to pass the buck, but the problem is, Watchtower, all of this stuff sitting on our bookshelves.
Well, who appoints circuit overseers and missionaries?
Well, now you got to remember, back in the day when they're sitting around their little round table, oh Jehovah, help us, tell us whether we need to appoint Gene Fields as a circuit overseer. Tell us if we need to appoint Brother Brooks as a ministerial servant. See, they all buffaloed Jehovah's Witnesses into believing that they were sitting around this table praying for Jehovah's Spirit to direct them. Well, now that Spirit's gone because now they are the entity responsible.
See, and Watchtower claims that their dismissal was based on, or pursuant for the legal term, to CPLR 3211A.8. For lack of personal jurisdiction is warranted where a named defendant is not a legal entity amenable to suit. And then when you skip down to the next paragraph, this is on case law, their summary. Here at the pleading stage of the litigation, the plaintiff sufficiently, that means they did a good job, alleged that the governing body was a jural entity capable of being sued as an unincorporated association.
Can I interject something here? How long ago was it that you and I, to the dismay of many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses saying, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't have a clue. They're just a couple of, conspiracy nuttered, tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. How many of you remember me saying, if you're going to go after Watchtower, go after the corporation? And that's what's happening right here.
See, because the governing body is an unincorporated association, which is separate from Watchtower. And
Yep.
if you read through all of this, you will see that's what they were able to prove.
Right.
And I'm going to show some things that they were able to prove. And this is interesting. This is a good point for all of you who may have or in the future have criminal or civil cases against Watchtower and the governing body.
Right, because if you go after them from a religious perspective, the odds are you're going to get shot down.
Yeah. See, and also Zalkin, he's really good because he's been dealing with Watchtower for over a decade now. And it was great because in the California case several years ago, they were trying to say that the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, the Religious Order of Jehovah's Witnesses, and Watchtower Bible Tract Society were all separate entities.
Right.
And could not, answer from one to the other. Okay? He proved, since they share a legal department, they are.
They're one and the same.
And that's why a lot of us, need to be talking and educating everyone of these fine points. It's all in the little wording.
Yeah, the way they twist the words around so that the uneducated people can't understand what they're doing.
Yeah, this is one of them that they were able to prove. Notably, the summons listed a discrete address for the governing body, which was different from the addresses listed for the other defendants, including the defendant Watchtower and Bible Tract Society of New York. Now, we know that the governing body, usually when they were all in Brooklyn, they had like brownstone homes.
Right.
In other countries, they've got separate houses for the hierarchy, even mansions. Philip Brumley, they bought him a house there in New York, and we did a video about it, but YouTube took it down because we happened to mention the address of that home. But we have all of the deeds and everything. So they buy these hierarchy, these high ups, homes. They don't live in a little tiny apartment in their cult compound at Warwick.
Really? Say that ain't true.
Well, look at how many XJWs told us that when they were at Bethel, like the appliance repair guy. Yeah, there was an appliance repair guy who worked at Bethel. He was sent out to all these hierarchies' houses, which were very nice, to fix their appliances. And he said you wouldn't believe what the nice living conditions.
Luxury.
Yeah.
And these guys are living in the same luxury as, say, a Joel Osteen or, Billy Graham used to, or even Billy Graham's family now. They're all the same, people. There's no notable difference between any of them any longer.
Yeah. Look at all the governing body that wear Rolex watches.
Yeah. I wish I could afford a Rolex. Hey, Watchtower, I would love to have a Rolex. Let me make you an offer right now. Okay? You can shut us up. I want $5 million for every piece of literature I have on this shelf, and then we will go away. Or is $5 million a little too low? 10.
It's negotiable.
10. Yeah, exactly. But you guys understand what's been happening. Watchtower's trying to fight and save their organization based on
Their business?
their business, based upon current ideology, current things that are happening. And that's why Kim and I say, if you need to educate your lawyer. And the only way you can do it is to show them what they've done and said in the past. Because it's the same organization. And it's like any other organization. Let's just say you're trying to sue a toy factory or a toy product or whatever. They're going to try to do the same thing. They're going to deflect to what was and not what is now, or vice versa. They're going to deflect to what is now. Well, let's forget about the past. It doesn't matter that, our toy in the past hurt people. We've made the changes and this is who we are now. They need to separate themselves from their past. But as long as this stuff exists in the hard copies to where they can't change it, this is the proverbial noose around that business.
Well, look at the Jehovah's Witnesses when they're on social media arguing with ex-members. What's the first thing they say? Oh, well, that's old light. That's apostate literature now.
Yeah.
Even when you show them something current on jw.org, they say, oh, well, that isn't real. That's apostate literature. They won't go to jw.org to see it for themselves.
Right. And this is the mental gymnastics that all these people, I don't care what religious faith you're of, they all play this mental gymnastics when the truth is put right in front of their face.
Yeah. So, they even admit in these documents that the governing body in the summons had a discrete separate address from Watchtower. That makes them a separate entity.
That's right.
Okay? Here's another point. Going on with the summary. Additionally, the complaint alleged that the governing body was and is a business or religious entity of unknown legal status conducting business in the state of New York, and that at the time of the CSA alleged in the complaint, governing body's principal headquarters was located in Kings County, state of New York. Okay? Then they go on to talk about that the complaint alleged that during the dates of the CSA, plaintiff and defendant governing body established the sexual abuse of policies implemented by Watchtower in all congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States. See, and that is how they've got them. They do implement these policies, and they tried to claim that they didn't in the Montana case. And guess what? Brumley got fined big time for all of his lies.
Yeah.
And he appealed it and lost. He has to pay it.
That's right. He's got to pay for his lying tongue.
Yeah, exactly.
But see, it's not protecting their religion, because if they really believed that their God Jehovah existed and was the one protecting them, then Jehovah would have protected them in any and all of this. That's why it's a business, and they know they don't have that protection any longer.
Yeah.
Or actually never had it.
Yeah. It just sets a precedence now.
Yeah, this is what it does.
Yeah. So the governing body, implemented by Watchtower and all congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States, including congregation, established the policies for appointing and supervising elders and ministerial servants within the Jehovah's Witness organization. See, and that's the biggie. They say they control the elders, the ministerial servants, the circuit overseers, the missionaries, the special pioneers. They control the policies and the implementation of the rules and policies.
Which establishes the business connection on all of this. Because now you're using business language instead of theocratic language.
Yeah.
And this is what Kim and I have been saying for years, quite honestly, with a lot of disrespect from other XJWs.
Yeah. Okay. Moreover, in opposition, the plaintiff submitted various documents from Watchtower, including one entitled Overview of Jehovah's Witnesses' U.S. Organizational Structure. The document stated, among other things, the Watchtower, incorporated in 1909, is not-for-profit corporation used by the governing body to hold title to properties in New York, print Bible-based books and magazines, and to sponsor schools for missionaries, branch committee members, and traveling overseers at the Watchtower Education Center in Paterson, New York. Okay? See, this sets the precedence that they oversee this and are in control of this, and they hide the pervos, and that has been their MO for decades.
Which was proved in the Australian Royal Commission, and that they do destroy notes.
Yeah. See, and I think that's why they had to change it, because see, until October 2000, it was also used to oversee activities of Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States. Well, that was changed to the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I think it was because of all the CSA cases.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, one of the bearing issues right here, friends, is that a lot of states have temporarily let all of the statute of limitations go on CSA. And there's a lot of people in states right now, and it's not just against Watchtower, it's against the Catholic Church. You've also got the Mormons now that have got their necks in the ringer, the Southern Baptist, the Seventh-day Adventists. They all have accusations of CSA against them. And it was relatively easy for them to hide it due to the statute of limitations. But once the states like Pennsylvania dropped it, wow, now you get the whole can of worms opened up. New York, California, yeah.
See, and that's why many of us are working behind the scenes to try to get these laws changed. Because you don't have to be a national lobbyist. You can work behind the scenes trying to get these changed, these statutes of limitations changed. You know, murder has no statute of limitation here in the United States. Well, in my humble opinion, CSA needs to do away with that statute of limitation. Because let's face it, most survivors don't even want to go through what they have to go through in the court system, in the justice system, and in the investigations until they're adults.
Right.
Sometimes even older adults. So, you know, that needs to be done away with, especially when you have historic cases that go back to the 50s.
Yeah.
You know, all of those people, they've got valid cases against Watchtower and these other organizations, but they can't, you know, get any justice because of that statute of limitations. And that's where you need to start, in my humble opinion. Going on with the summary.
Well, that's a good opinion to have.
Based upon these allegations, the Supreme Court properly determined that the governing body, which has a separate and distinct identity from the rest of the Jehovah's Witness organization, constitutes a jural entity that can be sued as an unincorporated association in New York. And then I've got the order here too. For the reasons stated in the Doe versus Watchtower Bible Tract Society of New York case, the Supreme Court properly denied the governing body's motion pursuant to CPLR 3211A to dismiss the complaint insofar as asserted against it. So, good news.
Yeah, for the time being, let's wait and see if they're going to appeal it to the United States Supreme Court, which, in my opinion, more than likely they're going to do it because they still have one more path to travel, and that's from the New York State Supreme Court to the the United States Supreme Court. So they have that little bit of a path, but once they get to the United States Supreme Court, and if they're shut down, it's over with.
Well, if you had a huge legal department with hundreds of volunteers, wouldn't you take it to the very end?
You're spreading fake news right now because even Watchtower come out and said, well, we don't have lawyers.
We're not an organization
We're
of
not
lawyers.
an organization.
Mr. Stewart, what you need to understand with regard to our organization is a faith-driven organization. This is not an organization of lawyers or those that are overly concerned with legal matters. So our primary allegiance is to Jehovah God.
Organization of lawyers, so stop spreading fake news, Cam, please.
I've seen the video.
No, you could put that up in front of every Jehovah's Witness right now, and they will categorically deny what they're seeing coming out of their mouth, because that's how they all think. That's how bad cults are, and whether that's a Christian-based cult or a political cult, because they all take
Pyramid
the words,
schemes.
Yeah, they all take the words of the Apostle Paul and say we must all be in agreement. And that's the problem with our society and when it comes to cults, because they're all in agreement. And yet the same character says in the Bible that the scene of the world is changing, and so is its desire. So the same guy that tells everybody that we must all be in agreement as Christians, the scene of the world is changing, and so is its desire. People have had it with these cults. A lot of people have come to the end of their rope with these cults and all of this crap that's being thrown at us, just like Watchtower's numbers.
Good segue.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, the other day I had done a video and I mentioned that the highlights for the 2024 service year worldwide report was out. And I said, I'm not going to get excited. I'm just going to wait until the full report comes out because it's carefully worded. And we know Watchtower, none of us believed their numbers to begin with.
Right.
Yeah. So I grabbed last year's report because I've already seen the thumbnails for some videos on YouTube of Watchtower has 9 million, publishers. And in my video the other day, I did mention that they are bragging that 65,000 were reinstated and went back to Jehovah. They returned to Jehovah.
Yeah.
But here in this highlight for the service report, the average number of publishers who shared in the preaching work is 8.8 million. Well, that's the same that was last year. It was, and I got the report out and showed Mike. Mm-hmm. It's 8.8 million.
Yeah.
But that said peak publishers.
Right. See, and this is where Watchtower plays once again on the monkey bars. The word gymnastics. Okay? But unless you've been a Jehovah's Witness most of your life, you usually don't pick up on little things like this, such as it was announced that an average of 8.8 million, I'm just rounding it off, publishers shared in the preaching of the good news each month. Now stop right there. Jehovah's Witnesses, stop. Let's go old school. In order for Kim and I to have taken or participated in having a share in spreading the good news, that would have required us getting 1 hour a month. Now, if we got 45 minutes, we couldn't turn it in, so we didn't have a share in the good news, in the preaching.
And we had to be regular for 3 months to be counted as a publisher.
Okay, exactly. Now, in time, those things have kind of changed a little bit, keeping in mind the older generation that couldn't get out in service 1 hour a month. If you just turned in 30 minutes, you had a share in preaching the good news.
Then it went down to 15 minutes.
Then it went down. If you could turn in 15 minutes, you had a share. Well, look at what they do now. You can stand on a friggin' street corner with those stupid little shopping carts, 4 of you together, and all 4 of you are now having a share. Even though you don't talk to one single solitary person, you had a share in preaching the kingdom message.
Well, guess what? The field service reports now, all you have to do is check the box that you shared in the preaching work.
So that would really entail you going to a family reunion and talking to your 4th cousin 15 times removed for 2 minutes, and you had a share. It's garbage. It's pencil whipping, friends. It's pencil whipping, especially when you put it in the preview of people that could only be a good Jehovah Witness is if we did it 1 hour a month. 1 hour. If you were less than that, you weren't good enough in Jehovah's eyes, but now you check a stupid little box and you're good enough.
Well, look at when we went to Edgewood to do a supply run.
Yeah.
And there's one stoplight in the town of Moriarty, and we're stopped at the stoplight. Mike looks over, he says, "Hey, look who's in the park." Now, it was cold that day. It was a very cold autumn day. Nobody in the park except 4 JWs standing in front of 2 carts, and they were just talking away. Nobody else in the park.
Well, here's the whole thing with that situation. They weren't even at the stoplight. They were probably 50, 60 yards in front of the stoplight. So all those cars that stopped when the light was red,
you couldn't see the car.
No, you couldn't even see the Jehovah's Witnesses alongside the road in the park.
Because they were under the trees.
So tell me, Jehovah, please tell me, Jehovah, how is that preaching the good? Oh, that's right. Even if you talk to nobody, you're still proving Satan a lie, because Satan said that nobody would preach Jehovah-ism.
Well, look it.
Unbelievable.
Look it. It was an unwritten rule that to become a ministerial servant or elder, you had to have at least 10 hours a month.
That's right. Now you just check a box.
Yeah, and look, you were a ministerial servant, a regular pioneer. You were getting, 70, 80 hours a month. But what, were they happy with that? Mm-mm. Our daughter started regular pioneering. Were they happy with that?
Nope.
No, they had to come after me because I was working full-time, 50, 60 hours a week, and I couldn't get the 10 hours a month. And they'd go to him and complain about my service time.
Well, now it's so much easier for the Jehovah's. All you got to do is check a box.
Yeah.
Whether you go out in service or not, just check a box, and then you become part of the peak average publishers, sharing in the good news of the kingdom and the preaching of the good news. What a snare and a racket it is now.
Yeah. Now I'm going to change the subject.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
What would happen if you had a non-JW relative and they either got married or had a funeral in another church and you went to that wedding or church? What would happen?
Well, I'd probably be labeled an apostate, but I can even go further with this. when I went to Pioneer School, being taught by the great and mighty Gene Fields himself. What if you owned a plumbing business? Okay? And your local church, one night, the pipes freeze and they call you to come and fix it. Could you fix the pipes?
No.
Not according to Gene Fields. Now, you can shut the water supply off, but if you work to fix the broken pipes, you're now an apostate. What a flipping joke Jehovah-ism is. Because there's no interfaith at all, because they actually considered that as interfaith. Now, you could shut the water off as a kind service, but then you would have to instruct whoever called you, you need to call another plumber because this would be interfaith if I fixed your broken frozen pipes. What a flipping joke.
Oh, I've got one better.
Do you?
Yeah.
So you're going to like best me in this?
Well, I don't know about that, but I've got a story too.
Okay, go ahead.
This is how bad it was with our moron elders in Cottonwood, Arizona. Because, remember, I used to do wedding cakes
I remember
for
this.
business.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
I made good money making, and decorating wedding
cakes, yeah.
Okay? I had a huge order for a Mormon wedding. And somehow the elders found out and they come a-calling and asking for details, was I going to go into the Mormon church and all of this. Well, the reception was going to be in the Mormon gymnasium because they had a gymnasium connected to their temple.
Right.
And it's like, no, I'm not, the wedding reception is going to be in the gymnasium. I'm going to be setting up the cake in the gymnasium. And they said, well, can't you get anyone else to go do that? And I says, I don't have anyone else to go do that. I'm not a business to where I, could go hire somebody to do this for me, workers and stuff.
Cater it, yeah.
And they wanted to make so sure that I wasn't going to go to the wedding in the Mormon temple. And they threatened me. They threatened me that if they found out, I had gone in the Mormon church. And it's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is my business.
Yep.
And, that is censorship because I was willing to do cakes for anybody. I didn't do birthday cakes or bar mitzvahs or anything like that. But, what I would do is I would decorate them and just not put any, like holiday on the cake.
Right.
But, the elders were such Gestapo about that.
Control freak. Because
Yeah.
they have to control every single aspect of your life. And this is what people today are actually rebelling against by far and large.
Yeah. Now, the reason I asked you that question about interfaith.
Oh, yeah, we kind of get distracted now.
Yeah, we digress. Is of this. Someone sent me this. Thank you very much. In fact, I think it was John, the same person that had sent me the other stuff. The JosephSmithFoundation.org.
Now,
the
wasn't
Mormon website.
Joseph Smith founded the Mormons, right? Based on some ideology that the angel Moroni gave him some lost
Gold
tablets of text. Yeah, okay. That Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. The Freemason Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
The Freemason Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
Wait for it. You just can't make this crap
if
up.
a Jehovah Witness did this, they would be hauled before the Gestapo elders. Anyway, Joseph Smith Foundation. They have a section here called Zion Tube.
Is that anything like Zion's Watchtower?
It's Zion's Watchtower and YouTube tied together, I guess.
Okay. It
Yeah.
must be.
Yeah. These words must be on your heart, 2014. They have a description of Watchtower's drama, movie, whatever you want to call it, that title I just mentioned, with a link to jw.org to go watch that movie. Now, what's interesting about this video, I'm surprised Watchtower hasn't taken it down yet, because I did click on the Mormons link here, and it did take me to jw.org, and that video is still up. And I'm surprised it is, because Nicholas in that video, since he did this, has come out as gay, and he has a partner, and he has been very vocal about, promoting the LGBTQ. And, there was a picture of him and his partner on Twitter, X, and most of us were congratulating him on not only leaving Watchtower, but, doing what he wanted to do now. And I believe it said that he was on Broadway now. And it's, I'm glad he left Watchtower and did that, but I'm just surprised Watchtower still has that video up.
So what we're actually saying is that Watchtower now approves of interfaith reactions.
Yeah.
See, guys?
Yeah.
Because Watchtower, as a set-alone entity, the business model has failed. That 1914 generation is dead and gone, and there is no Venn diagrams in this at all, Watchtower. You're done.
Not only that, but they're happy to get PR from anybody, even if it's another religion.
Yeah, exactly.
And promotion.
That should tell everybody how much in the crapper Watchtower really is, that now they're willing to break their own rules and have this Mormon outreach group, whoever the hell they are,
Zion Tube,
promote Watchtower stuff. Now imagine if Kim and I were to take some Watchtower stuff, put it up on our channel. How would Watchtower react? Oh wait, they already did. That's why they came after us with 9 copyrights in one day. And what did I do? For a certain somebody, pay attention. I turned to the camera and I said, bring it, Watchtower. You know why? Because you'd have to fight it in this county. And some of these online forums are now taking that law and implementing it into their rules.
Their policy.
If you're going to fight somebody who says something disparaging against you on any of these platforms, you have to fight it in the county that they live in. So for these people that want to try to sue us from overseas positions, overseas places, bear that in mind. You're going to have to come here and fight it. And I guarantee you, to a certain someone, you will lose.
Yeah, isn't the current judge a friend of your ex-boss?
Well, shh. No one's supposed to know that. In fact, I don't think he's even the judge no more. But yes, at one time, because this county here in New Mexico is a very conservative county. In fact, years ago when we got a new Democrat governor, she tried to take all of our gun rights away, and this was one of many counties that became a gun rights sanctuary county.
The sheriff of our county told her to...
Yeah. So, you guys really need to pay attention to what's really going on the greater scheme and the greater scope of things, because you got a whole lot of people still pushing crap. Like, well, I can sue anybody I want for defamation. You do it, but you got to fight it in this county. And that's going to be awful expensive for a whole lot of you people.
Yeah, it's all about jurisdiction.
That's right. It's all about jurisdiction.
And that's what I tried to explain to that stuff who was, trying to push for all of us to become lobbyists, and then got really nasty saying, oh, what have you been doing for all these years? What have you accomplished all these years? It's like, no, it's all about jurisdiction.
Right.
Same thing with the governing body. You have to go to the state of New York to fight them, to
fight
suit.
the governing body.
Yeah.
You can't fight the governing body in Pennsylvania.
But because they oversee, this is another fine point that some miss, but because they oversee all of these congregations, just like the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses,
right.
Because that corporation oversees all of the congregations here in the United States, then guess what? You can put them on your lawsuit. because, and same thing with the governing body. You know, if you want to sue them personally, you would have to go to New York.
Right.
But because they oversee congregations and allowed these ministerial servants, elders, circuit overseers, missionaries, and all of these people, they were appointed by the governing body and Watchtower. So that does make them responsible, so they can be named in
Right.
criminal and civil courts.
They can now be drugged into these other court cases.
Yeah, you just have to use the precedents that's already been set in these court cases and use that to show that they are liable and
Right.
are responsible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, and that's what you and I said years and years ago. If you're going to go after Watchtower, you do not go after them on a religious basis. You need to go after the corporation. And that's what's happening now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
So I'm going to put the links down below to all of this. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We appreciate the love and support. And we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
Bye.